Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ, and welcome to this Future Friday. Future Fridays are held aside for us to just be this live, interactive, co-host inspired talk where we talk about tabletop role-playing games. And Fridays are our way to uh, just talk about modern style gaming, whether it's like urban or near future, cyberpunk, far future, or whatever. And honestly, like Victorian era, that kind of thing is included. And I this week we were talking about I decided to use the OSR, like old school Renaissance or old school rules or whatever you want, whatever acronyms you want to use for the tabletop role playing games. And it got me to thinking about puzzle pieces and things, and then it got me to thinking about 3D printing. Um, I was originally going to use this to talk about like chat GPT and AI systems, but um, it seems like we're catching up to science fiction itself. But maybe we might do that. Hey, Wayne, and everybody else who has tuned in. Thank you very much. Wayne says, so many inexpensive minis out there now. I'd probably never want to incur the costs and efforts for this. I'm lazy. Yeah, talking about 3D printing and get your own printing. And um, 3D printing is often, it kind of clashes sometimes with science fiction, the way we imagine science fiction. But like The Expanse, I thought we would go back to a very, very old video that I did about the fun of 3D printing in science fiction. And so I came up with something in like 5 minutes or whatever, a little file here to talk about some of the elements of 3D printing and how we can use that to make really cool games. And for those who are today, where you can find very relatively cheap 3D printing machines, and there's a whole society uh, um, of individuals who rank machines, the type of materials that are used, the type of objects that are built with them, and all that kind of stuff. Mike says my BattleTech collection wouldn't be half as expensive without 3D printing. Yeah. And there are whole communities built around um, sharing and modifying and finding the correct programs for use in 3D printing. I don't like this setup. Sorry, my brain is just yeah, see a little bit better. I thought the other setup would be good, but Wayne says, aren't there like three different types at least of 3D systems? I don't know. I honestly don't know anything like it. I'm not even iceberged into the whole 3D printing community. I don't know. And I've seen plenty of individuals who try different mechanisms based on the feeder materials, and some machines are more with detail, but they're fragile and all that kind of stuff. And I said, well, you know what? Like The Expanse, the TV show The Expanse, and the way The Expanse was written, I said, that's not a limitation in gaming. That's actually kind of a benefit. Yeah, Mike says, so how much of Star Trek's replicators inspired the industry of 3D printing? I would definitely say, along with flying cars and communicators and tablets, yeah, 3D printing, I think it's right up there. Why not? Yeah, use of different raw materials. So let's get into it. Okay. So this first part of I don't know if this is like I said, I got this together in like 5 minutes, but I think you guys will understand. So the first part I got together here is preparation. So why actually I should have even put this before here, before this. Why in the world would your player characters need to use 3D printers? Now, in transhumanist and post-human games, it's about sending the brain, your brain signals, your neurological pathways, and beaming it from one place to another. Most specifically in Altered Carbon, the role-playing game in that setting, and Eclipse Phase and that role-playing game in that setting, that there's not much physical space travel, although there is going from habitat to habitat and and orbital satellites. But if you need to go from Luna to Saturn, you don't fly there. The easiest way is just to beam your brain, and then you get downloaded into a cortical stack. The cortical stack gets shoved into a biological or artificial or kind of like a mix of the two body, and you start walking around. So, but in other science fiction settings, you could do the exact same thing, or your own science fiction setting, which would be simply weight, mass, density. How much can you carry with you? Uh, this isn't often brought up in a lot of the higher science fiction, but yeah, you can't just bring 3 tons of stuff with you and act like they're not going to notice. In today, the price of going from Earth into space is about min maxing, right? How much weight versus the importance of the object, and if it's lightweight but very large, if it's very small but dense, and all that kind of stuff. It's very extremely important. So one limitation may be wherever the player characters are going, can they take all their crap? Now we know player characters are going to want to run and gun, right? The biggest weapons, firearms, missiles, body armor, all that kind of stuff. Maybe in this world or a small section of your galaxies, or maybe just in general, you can't just take everything. It's got to maybe fit and be able to fit into your pockets or a backpack. In my proto science fiction setting, there's a monetary. Let's see if I can grab something like of similar size and use or whatever. So this is one of these like glasses, glass for cell phone cases, and in my world, value is based on the size and density of an object of this size. And you can pay for like 5 of these as a stack and place things in it, and whatever can fit into that, that's what you can take with you, and so it became like a monetary value. Like, what do you people ask, like, what are you taking with you that can fit into a shape that size, the size and shape of that size? What's important to you? Photographs of your family, playing cards, cigarettes, chiclets, whatever the case may be. So I'll get back into what you co-hosts have to say, but initially, like, why in your world would you have it? So limitation could be mass, size, density. Another thing might just be value. Like, if unless you're important or rich, you really can't take much with you. It's just a backpack size, and that's it. Unless you have a lot of money and privileges and things like that. Um, I guess another one would be that maybe just in this world, carrying crap around with you is not the norm. It's like, if you're going to go from here to Mars or to Alpha Centauri, why would you take 5 tons of stuff when you could just print the stuff when you get there? You know, print files might be, you could probably hold 5,000 print files in something the size of your thumbnail, rather than carrying a whole lot of crap, because it's too hazardous and difficult and kind of a waste of time. So basically, for preparation, having print files to print 3D items, having access codes to be able to print the things off that you have, meaning like, maybe you can print off tools or clothing or furniture, but do you have access to print off knives or weapons or body armor? Okay. Also, are the printing machines that you're looking for, like, where are they? Do you have physical access to them, not just technological, digital access? And then who has the privileges to print things out? Like, are patches to the outer skin of a habitat more important and override your desire to want to print out a firearm, right? And then, so you have a lot of questions like, when can you use them? Where are they? Who has access to them? How is that access distributed? Is it by importance? Is it by status? Is it by job function or whichever? And then which machines are able to print out what? So maybe there's only 3 machines that can print out firearms, but there's 17 machines that can print out clothing. So anyway, that's what I was thinking. Uh, mm, mm, mm. No, you don't get too ahead of me. Dead Man says Altered Carbon had a 3D bioprinter, which was used in the end of season 1 to print a sex one body for Kovacs. I I yeah, 3 um I didn't put that in there. Yes. What types of like? Let's put this. Uh, I'll put this down below. Like, can things print out? Let's see. Biomaterials? Question mark. Radioactive? Can it print out those kind of things? Acids? Um, viral slash bacterial materials? You know, I mean, would the question would be not only can a machine print out like biological or dangerous materials, but also if it can, would they allow it? Right? Like, there's a difference between having access to do a thing and the ability to have the thing done, right? So that's also an issue. Yeah, guys talking about the whole Star Trek and it being a inspiration like VR goggles and holodecks and all that kind of stuff. Mike says, considering running a modern D&D game along the lines of Shadowrun or Fantasy High, etc., the idea of 3D printing would be its own thing there, likely competing with Conjuration School wizards. Ooh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, dead man. Talk about Cyberpunk Edge Runners. The I only got about 3 or 4 episodes into the show. I got to go back and see it. Mike says, I can see artificers 3D printing golems in his future. Heck yeah. And then it depends on the kind of machines, right? How fast do they print? That kind of stuff. Now, under what I have listed under trid print machines, I just came up with a funky name. Like, are they are they public? Like, can you just go up to a machine and use it to print out what you want, Earl Grey hot, right? Or are they privately owned by factions, individuals, corporations, neighborhoods, schools? Like, what? How it would be the equivalent of we can go into a supermarket and buy goods and services, but some places are licensed or even like where I put down a mil spec for military spec. Like, do you need a doctor's license to get drugs? In order to get a prescription, you need to go to a licensed individual to get an item to then have get that item to you. So, for example, I take a number of medications and I have to go to my doctor to have a prescription filled. I cannot just go into the local pharmacy. Now, there are some that are over the counter. So maybe there are certain printed materials, and the navigating of that for player characters would be, hey, I can print out a simple knife and fork, but if I want a, you know, mono vibratory blade or something, I'm going to need to go to a specific person and let them know that, or steal access from someone who can get that printed out. Also, feeder materials like what kind of feeder materials go into printing something. Maybe in your distant colony, they have to get the feeder materials from the outside through mining and things like that to feed into the 3D printers to even print something out in the first place. And maybe complex biologicals aren't available readily and need to be placed into the feeder materials. I'm looking at you, dead people, which which may be a real thing that people's dead bodies are put into feeding materials to get biological things, so you can print out nerve endings and muscle fibers and retinal materials and things like that. And while that sounds a little bit macabre, it may be actually desirable for people to say, basically they live forever. They're constantly being fed into the machines to print things out for people, and that they'll live 200 years because they'll literally be built into the walls of a colony or something. So I could see that becoming something else. Also, I put down blocks, complex, and dangerous, meaning like, are you printing out Lego blocks? Like, for example, a modern day firearm. Are you printing out the pieces and then you have to assemble the firearm? Or can you print out an entire firearm completely with its use? Right? That kind of thing. TA is like, what is Trid print? That's just a funky name that I came up. Trid, like like a 3D kind of thing. Anyway, it's a dumb name. It's a uh, I just made that up. Yeah. Garth is like, these 3D printers are not the ones you're looking for. Gaster says, when it comes to 3D printing, I believe it can be an incredible progression for a lot of people who may not want to pay for officially licensed miniatures or even dice and would prefer to make their own. While I don't personally believe the idea of 3D printing is very cost effective at first, I can definitely see it becoming a benefit in the future. And yeah, and by the way, if you can make it specific to the people you associate with, then why not? I just put Trid because it's 3D. Um, Mike talks about enforced metals, organics, etc. would be restricted to specific personnel. The black market, though, would certainly grant access for a price. Exactly. And how is the printing monitored? So would an alert go off the minute you print something out that's dangerous to the habitat? So if you're in a habitat orbiting Jupiter and you print out a firearm, that might set off an alert, even if you're only printing it out to keeping your collection, right? If you're printing it out, it might set off something that would alert the authorities, or at least a monitoring service that's like, um, Joey and Diana just keep printing out firearms. Maybe you should talk to them. They're not printing out the ammo, which again goes back into this idea of um, what can you print out, and like, can you print out complex things that are dangerous? Can you print out explosives? You know. Mm-mm-mm. TA says that would have to do with regulation on would a governing entity be able to enforce this method? And that depends on our 3D printing machines linked together, because I'm thinking they would be linked together, that that a single habitat would blow or have feeder material going to a number of machines, but that doesn't necessarily need to be the case. Could the player characters acquire one, take the machine, assemble it, and then start printing out all their firearms somewhere else in a, you know, deep in a cavern in a crater somewhere that's away from the authorities? TA says, if baked in to eliminate warlike items, you could infect a warring alien race with these so they get passive. If scarcity is why they are warlike, example, it makes being peaceful the path of least resistance. Yeah, now that the I see you taking it to a far extent. Like, hey, everybody, we'll share the technology, but we're not going to let you print out weapons of war against us. But yeah, Mike says concept: an illusionist and an artificer discover a way to print illusions into reality. Ooh, I like that. TA goes on to say, but if someone hacks your software or hardware to make war products, you get them having holdouts that might insist on continuing war as a tradition. I like that idea, and but also it does bring across the idea of um, is intent part of this. So if people are printing out objects of war, does that make them warlike? Because they could just say, "Hey, I'm just a collector. I'm not really involved in. I don't want to. I don't want war, but I like to collect the items of war." Right? That may be a thing. Oh man, a dead man says like the Peripheral on Netflix, which I saw. Is it on Netflix? I thought it was Amazon. The Peripheral. Anyway, the main character works in a 3D printing shop making things that are ordered online and sent to the person who ordered them. Yep. It's like, and I love it because the place was all dirty and like in a corner of the neighborhood in like some small town, but they had like 50 3D printers just going on in the background because people would just order items online. And yeah, if they don't question what you're ordering, who knows what the hell? It's just like, great, it finished printing, let's just spray it, clean it, and throw it in a Ziploc bag and send it out, right? It might not, the person who gathers the items or the bits and pieces might not even know it. So, like, player characters might have all their armor and firearms, but they might be printed in various different machines so that no one knows exactly what's being put together. Or even if they do, they're just like, oh, oh, they just printed out the handle of a gun. It's not the whole thing, so don't worry about it. TA says, as for bio materials, you have to consider non-living versus living, like cells for living, like say printing a framework of edible substance as a skeleton and pockets of cells to grow a tree fast from nothing. Right, 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 right. So can you 3D print seeds that can grow into a tree? Or is it just general like cookies, like gray bricks that you have to flavor? Like, is it edible in the least descriptive manner of something that you can eat, or is it something else? I'm trying to catch up to you guys. Don't worry about it. Um, yeah. Gaster, Two Soul says, what I'm more concerned with is less the cost of getting a 3D printer. I'm not even bothered about the filament price as well. What I'm most concerned about is the involvement and possible meddling of corporations. I hear you. We have already seen Watson and Hasbro more or less try to stomp out. Yep, third party made projects made by independent companies. That's what I'm more worried about. Well, now here's the thing, right? We know. Let's not keep our head in the sand. We know today people can acquire firearms pretty damn easily and use them for nefarious reasons. Like, it's not a secret. I'm not talking about gun control. I'm just talking about access to dangerous things that people have in their hands and use for dangerous reasons. So, who gets to decide who has access to a thing? So, sure, we don't like corporations, we don't like government, but eh, um, the loosest term of group consensus is not very good. Human beings are very mob like, and no one thinks that they're the bad guy. And everyone's like, we should have 3D printing for everybody, and it shouldn't be monitored at all. And I guarantee you, there's going to be some pretty horrible outcomes to that. No matter what happens, there's going to be pretty horrible outcomes. I'm looking at you, Bitcoin. Mike Gould and NFTs. Sorry, Mike says a historical fact: in the Victorian era, grave robbing was a thing. Doctors would pay grave robbers on the download to steal fresh corpses for their research. Yes, they would. Yeah. So finding programs and things like that. So here I have a machine security. Like, would there be none or some security for certain things? Remote security, like, or alerts that would go off. How would the machines be monitored, if at all? Maybe there's a group consensus, like, hey, Amir and Nien are using the machines 15% more than everybody else. Maybe we limit their access because they're using the machines more. So when the player characters come in and they're like, we want to dominate the machines to print out all of our firearms, and everyone's like, yeah, we don't care about you printing out firearms. We care about the fact that you're using up all our feeder material. You bastards, get out of here, right? Um, that How are objects that are printed out monitored? Like, are they tagged? Like, would there be something like the size of a grain of rice put into every object that's tagged, so that everyone knows where that object is and how it's being used? Or maybe just simple GPS. Hey, you print out a gun, fine, but we're gonna monitor. We're in a enclosed habitat, and even though 1.5 million people live in our spin city, we need to know where your object's going. Is it stamped? Like, if you turn the object over, does it have the DBJ stamped in the hilt of the gun because you used one of my programs to print out an object? Maybe nobody minds if you print out a jacket from a renowned designer that every time you print out a clothing item, it has their logo on it. And I put blacklight, basically, like, can security find the item because there's something in it that's visible or detectable through, like, black light, radiation, like, is it UV? Does it set off a UV signal that someone can monitor, or a very non-dangerous isotope is inside of it, or something like that can be detected if it goes into a restricted region? Um, Cookie cutters, like, if you create a firearm, does the firearm automatically disable when you're pointing it at the authorities? And can the object be disassembled remotely? Hey, you're using a printed item that's dangerous. They can just press a button and all of a sudden it turns to powder, right? Uh, TA says that's for non-living organics, a mixture of various chemicals like amino acids and sugars or starches. Um, Amino acid starches can be mixed up after being made in ASIC, like printing systems, fast one trick pony to print fake meat. Oh, okay, okay, okay. I'm not sure what the ASIC stands for, so sorry about that. But I get your point. Like, is there an end way around to get something very quickly, or a default mode? Hey, I'm printing an edible. Is the edible like automatically have what we need, like our our uh, n- nutritional value into a gray brick that tastes like cardboard, and then yeah, Shadowrun had Tridios. Yeah, Dead Man 3D videos. Yep. That's what I was when I put the Trid print thing there. Um, but yeah, is does a machine default to one thing easy, but requires complexity to change it to what you're looking for? TA says this is why pushing 3D printing till it's on the edge of replicator like capabilities changes everything. And listen, the closer the resources are to print something. And what I mean by that, money, feeder materials, power, programs, the greater people get independent, right? And who we don't need you to live in our third world country. We don't need you to live in our space habitat. We don't need you. All we need are a couple of 3D printers on our starship, and we're out. You know, Mike says, riffing on the concept of necromancer out, artificer combo might steal bodies to have organic materials to print their own illegal clones. Yeah, Palpatine. um, Dangling from a mechanical arm with your Snoke replicators, because I know everybody loved the Star Wars movies, like everybody loved them without fail, because that's what everybody loved. But in all seriousness, yeah, it's yes, I get that. Yes, yes, I can feel your anger. I can feel your hate. you know, what if the necromancer's like, yeah, I'm going to live forever by just like scavenging body parts and things like that to print out bodies, or maybe to create an army of half living kind of dead things. Think a device that can break down things like an old cell phone and sort and save that material. Yep, individually, so it can then use them to print other cell phones. Exactly. Like instead of breaking it down to the molecular level, well, it can it might just sort things into components to very quickly assemble something else. Yep. Oh yeah, absolutely. Mm, let's see. Gaster says, as for 3D printing in a campaign or a setting, I'd say you guys should take notes from what we see in Half Life Alex, where instead of you being able to buy resin, you would instead have to find it scattered around the world instead of using it as a crafting system, but use it as a new aspect of a leveling system for your weapons, right? Where not only you'll have to conserve your resources, you might have to choose who gets that new upgrade to that plasma axe. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, like maybe you have to the player characters are like they've got backpacks full of resources to upgrade, like it's the in-world reason for players being able to level up themselves, and the players are like, I need that, and going, I need it too. Yeah. Mm-mm-mm. my my design uses lasers coupled with electro charges to reach bonding where desired, and those lasers can be can be a custom frequency designed and power to cause deoxidizing and ablating that oxide. um Detailed for me, but I like it. I like it. Deadman says Eclipse Phase had restrictions in many habitats for many devices that were dangerous, where the authorities are notified as soon as the item is requested on a printer. Exactly. So, you know, just making a request, and the request goes denied, and someone goes, oh man, shucks, you know, darn it, I can't believe that happened, right? Um, it's possible that that the authorities, whoever is there, are alerted simply by the request, not even to print the damn thing out. You know, TAK, it goes so far. You guys are ahead of me. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. Your last. I'm taking your last comment there, uh, Andy, and reading it out of. Oops. Reading it out of context, where you say, "Cook it with lasers as it's printing out, so it's ready to eat right away." Yeah, yeah. 3D printers print out hot. The act of it is very hot, and it would be pretty funny. Like, oh, they printed out an edible hamburger for me, complete with lettuce and tomato. You know, like, could a bioprinter print out a hamburger fully formed, or would it have to print out tomatoes? And could they print them out in slices, and then some lettuce and condiments and things like that? Like, would you allow that to be that? Yeah, to print them for a hamburger, but those ASICs it printed in a day can then make hundreds of hamburgers worth of material a day. So your printer can spit a hamburger out in 20 minutes and cook it as it's being printed. Yeah, I took it out of context on purpose. Yeah. The limitation of gameplay to match real world would be raw elemental material, like having a source to iridium for a part, since that element is more rare than even gold by many factors. Taking that even further, maybe the printing says, yeah, we can print out 87% of what you want, but there are various rare earth elements, like in cell phones. Going back to your cell phone comment, there are lots of rare earth elements that are used in electronics. And the machine could say, all right, guys, to go on your mission, we can get 87% of this. The rest of it, you're going to have to gather to bring back here to disassemble to then assemble in your very dangerous item. Also, quality, like the machines, are the machines 17 years old, and they're like crusted, and people have been using them forever. And if you print a firearm out in the machine, that the gun has a higher chance of breaking down. Black market. There's little oversight in black market communities. It's just by reputation. So would a would the players then have the choice? Okay, two black marketeers, if we go to one, we'll basically be the enemy of the other. One black marketeer, number one, can get it to us quick, but has questionable quality, or the second one get it to us much later, but high quality, and both sides are going to be after us for not using them because we just got into the hab, and they both are feel like they have jurisdiction over the black market, right? That's another gamifiable mechanism in 3D printing, right? Where various 3D printing gangs, or heck, the authorities themselves, are like, looking around like, so you want to break the rules? Well, if you pay us, a fine, bribery, threats, and things like that, we'll look the other way. But just know we're going to put in cookie cutters in those items. Like, if we say you're done, we're just going to press a button and you're done. You Gaster Two Soul says, I could even imagine a particular little character that could be used as an NPC or a player character itself, a play off the Frankenstein's monster trope. Ooh, getting assembled together from parts. Yeah. But instead of it being a body scavenged from the parts of dead bodies, it's instead an entity built from a bioorganic resin that turns them to look human. Ooh. The dead dead members of the habitat brought back to life by printing them back out again. Hmm. Perhaps they find that they are alone, and their entire quest would be the journey to find their creator, or going more existential and going into the idea of what could this creature be considered, a construct, built, or a living being. Right, 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 right. I mean, if they didn't have their original brains reinserted into a brand new biological body, reprinted from a bioprinter, uh, it could be problematic, especially if the person getting reprinted is like, okay, I know I'm alive, but somebody killed me. I'm going to go on a mission to go find that person. What a great origin. PC, you wake up from a 3D printer. Huh? You've been dead for 3 weeks. Someone killed you. Go find your murderer. Yeah. Someone killed my 3D printed puppy, and I'm out for revenge. TA's like for the acids, you also have to account for alkaline too or hydroxides, and you then just have to have pass through that is made for it, or use electrostatic charges to stop contact with the piping. Yeah, like how the heck does a Tritio printer? I'm just coming up with the assembler with feeder material print out dangerous materials, like you said, oxides, acids, bases, radioactive materials. Um, um, if you go through our um, uh, oh, if you not all not all materials or even elements exist in a stable condition at room temperature. So could a 3D printer print out a gas or a liquid, right? And would it would or could the machine be placed at varying pressures and or temperatures or energetic conditions? Like could there be a magnetic bottle effect inside of a 3D printed energy? Or could a dry ice be printed without it turning into a gas because it's not at room temperature, it is a lower temperature when printed out? Those are all kind of things that you might have to take into account. Or again, maybe you just print out a cooler and then go outside on the moon's surface to go cut yourself a 1 foot square of dry ice, right? Like maybe it can print out 87% of the object, and then you just have to go to the black market, which has bullets. We sell bullets. We don't sell guns. You can print out a gun all you want, but the bullets, 1,000 credits a piece. Yeah. What are you looking at me like that for? TA says, which is my theory of the xenomorph. Okay, xenomorph alien, from Alien, in that its cells and structure were highly charged to repel its acid blood enough to avoid it being reacted. Yeah, 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 yeah. But still able to gain material needed and discharge waste into it. Yep, yep, yep. How do you print out a biological being, considering that like we have stomach acids and salt for our tears and all those kinds of, yeah, it could be pretty complicated. Gasser says this could lead to an even more existential conundrum. The players are forced by the big bad evil guy to choose which player should live, the man built or the person of flesh and blood. Wow. Wayne says, would mini or die making companies exist if we all had 3D printing? Um, well, that depends, right? Like y- there is still a need for programs, so it's possible you could have special high ranking. This is where quantity versus quality, access versus no access comes in. um we go to different restaurants. You can go to right now, I know in your head, different restaurants that serve better and worse hamburgers, pizza, your favorite foods. Why? Because we have a choice. So if we all had 3D printers, we would need the programs to print out what we wanted. I think what you're saying there, Wayne, is maybe we purchase or get for free individuals who print have allow us to print out better dice than other companies. So I think there would still be an economy. I think the economy would just change a little bit. Yeah, and the End King. Are we talking about making endless Doom bots of yourself? Yeah, yeah, Doctor Doomsters, Latvarian printing out myself because we're narcissistic. I'm gonna print out a third body of myself and make sweet love to it. Ugh. TA says, sorry that I get detailed on the function. Replicator level 3D printer technology, um, tech is something I work on in real life. I have a whole lab and machine shop tool set specifically for this. Ooh, I'm glad I have your attention. I'm a layman. I'm a armchair person. I talk out the side of my neck when it comes to these kind of things. So yeah. But since this is a tabletop role playing game channel, I'm just thinking like the friggin' adventure might not be putting a bullet into a despot's body, but it might be just gathering the materials needed to even operate on a particular level to do the thing for the players to get to the point where the easiness part is just getting rid of the dictator, right? Like the players might have to sneak into that hab that's orbiting Jupiter and then have to go around the station and find black marketeers and get programs. And the programs that they have could very easily print out their weapons and armor, but it's going to alert someone. We need to figure out a way to get to an assembler that's in the bowels of the underworld, physically and literally, and then get the stuff done. And listen, if you're gonna don't think you could trust criminals, yeah, that ain't happening. Criminals are definitely going to monitor who the hell you are and have some way to protect themselves from the weapons you're making. Pretty idiotic to sell weapons to people that are also committing crimes and think that they're not going to worry about you using it against them. The N King says, you know what would be devastating? If a criminal group could sabotage a printer to print some contagious virus. Your machine makes a chemical that enters the air immediately. Now, right, and that depends on like maybe they have hackers that are able to bypass the security systems. Maybe the hackers think they bypass the security systems, sends off an alert, they print the virus out anyway, it expands, but the security is still going after the criminals who decide to do it anyway. This could be stacked issues, and I love it. Although a printer might be programmed to self sabotage if it does a thing. If that printer has a pretty advanced AI system, I bet it would know. Listen, if I print these three things, separate things out, they're going to combine together and cause danger. I'm just going to melt myself down and slag. I'm gonna slag my upload my mechanism and blueprints and slag the machine and just reprint my machine at a later date after the authorities figure out what the hell's going on, right? An AI system could be tasked with doing that and let people know, like, hey boss, I just printed out three firearms. I think you need to check these people out. And oh, by the way, I put something in it that the minute they pull the trigger, it's just going to melt down in their hands and or disperse in the dust or something. I don't know. Ta says on gases, a trick I am using for the extreme vacuum. Oh, I didn't think about vacuum. For clean room level parts is a sheet that has an extremely high static charge on it, and the machining charge effect is applied using a laser passing under it to hit the gas and charge it so the static charge on the plate repels it away from the layer boundary of the surface of that plate. Custom charging of that plate could make attraction or neutral pathways to control shape of that gas if needed. Wow. I think I kind of half sort of understood that and I feel smarter for it. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, so what I'm gathering from your comment, extremely well versed um, description, is that a charged surface can draw in, neutrally affect, or repel gases that are being expelled from the machine to allow it to presuming to be placed into a rest state if other physical objects are being printed around it, so that you could print so an extreme thing would be to print a jar filled with a gas, if I'm understanding that correctly, that you could print a full jar sealed with a gas inside of it. Um, that would just be interesting. Gaster Two Souls says, honestly, I might use this character if I've ever found myself joining a sci-fi TTRPG campaign. Yeah, you wake up and need to take revenge on the people who killed you. Wow. Mike says printing organics would likely be a combination of stolen or cloned cells bonded to ceramics in some cases. Ceramics are neutral, rarely rejected by immune systems, mimic bone structures, and reject acids. Ooh. Ooh. Would that mean that the only way to tell whether clones and humans are walking around is that their bones show up as ceramic? That would be pretty interesting in a body scan, right? And the authorities walk around with these um, with tablet like scanners to find out if somebody has ceramic bones. or maybe a PC thinks that they were full memories, childhood, grew up. I'm a natural born human being, and you're like, no, you weren't. You woke up 5 days ago, and your bones are artificial, there, buddy. I'm looking at you, Wolverine, right? Like that would be pretty cool. Ceramic bones. The fact that, yeah, TA says more important talking about printing out minis, and the fact that no mini company would tell you no about a given mini if you could just print it out yourself. So access to anything would be as free as the info access. Yeah, yeah. And then that would be where the bottleneck comes in. Like, I don't think you could control individuals printing out things for their individuality, Wayne. But if you would try to do it in bulk, hey, I've got a 3D printer in my basement and I can efficiently print out 10,000 custom minis, sell them for $5 a piece, right? And then, so I think it's a matter of scale as well. Now you would chip away at the product if 100,000 people can print out their own minis. That's 100,000 people that wouldn't be buying them. But if just 10% of them could print up to scale, they would eliminate they become their own economy. So that would be kind of cool. Yeah, you would then be able to do what that ad you would then be able to do what that ad about piracy. You could download a car. Ooh, I didn't even think about that one. How big of a printer would you need to print out a sizable thing like a car or a boat or a jetpack or a mech, right? um, if you can only print out something the size that of the 3D printer that it can print out, so would you have to go to 50 different printers, or maybe there's only three available in that hab circling around Jupiter that can print out something that's a 10-foot square of anything? All the other printers are like sandwich sized, I don't know. So, a setting where a clone is discovered might result in asking yourself why this dead body has ceramic bones. Wow, yeah, maybe the NPC goes, "Hey, I was reprinted, I was reconstructed. Why? I don't remember dying. What the hell happened to me? I need investigators to find out what happened." Or the player characters get to town and then they look around and go, "Why does everybody have ceramic bones? What the hell happened here?" And no one's acting different. Or the PCs interrogate someone and they realize that not a single person in the population realizes this has happened in the first place. And they go, "No, I'm not artificial. You're lying. I'm not lying. You're lying." Gaster Two Soul says, "I always had the idea that making food from 3D printers could be a fascinating quest. Perhaps you were given an email from a whistleblower amongst a famous fast food chain. Something has been going on with their food. Sorry. Well, eventually, while exploring the fast food restaurant, you begin to discover a dark secret. They ran out of food supplies long ago, and from Terra, and have been using the only known large commodity they have: people. My number three double decker burgers made out of people. It uh, my favorite hamburgers made out of people. Um, uh, for you young folks, that's Soylent Green. Yeah, Soylent Green, the the movie that had the food police that were looking around for people that were hiding crumbs. They literally had there was such an overpopulation. They literally had front end scooper trash cans driving down the street, scooping people up and dumping them into the back, living people, dumping crowds of people into the back of trash trucks and driving them away to shall I call them factories or meat grinders or something? Uh, but I think Soylent Green was like green fluid in bottles or something. I don't think it was a physical thing. I can't remember. I honestly I can't remember. Although there was another show, follow up show called The last ship that had something like that, as well as oh, what's the television show and movie with the train in a post-apocalyptic world, where they were eating like licorice bricks that were made out of people. So eating people's actually been a popular sci-fi trope. Oh, you guys are well ahead of me. The Atlantean Mariner says, you need a nitrogen for bullet propellant and for other living bodies. So yeah, you guys have put in the pieces for a killer story. Since biological materials are scarce on that habitat, people are getting murdered so that their biological elements are used for printing items. So, could you detect a gang war happening because more and more people are disappearing and the authorities are like, "Oh shit, they're holy shit. There 16 bodies dead? Oh man, that must be they're gathering up for war." Right? What's the line for RoboCop? Can you fly, Bobby? Lawrence, no! And somebody gets dumped into a feeder machine and starts printing out stuff. And they're like, "You're the next. Hey, you haven't been loyal to me. You're not a made man." Dumped into the machine, printing stuff out. Yeah. Oh my goodness, this is nasty. But listen, we're not even in an hour, and we're already going down dark paths. Can you imagine 3D printers in the hands of diabolical people, or when I say diabolical, I mean like average individuals in humanity, in far flung places in our own solar system where no one's looking. Yeah, that person who keeps snoring and keeps you up awake at night in a some kind of tin can habitat. Yeah, that person's getting their throat slit and shoved into a machine to make hamburgers. Oh hell's yes. Oh man, programmer close enough to control the nanobots to take instructions and convert them into interactions in the brain for that control. Ooh, 3D printed artificial neurological connections and the ability to monitor them. Mm. Wow, Atlantean Mariner says now you're stuck in a crappy robot body, hunting down the biological material to reconstruct your body. All right, I got enough to print my bottom legs. Last stop, genitalia. And I don't care what it looks like. I just want some. Maybe I'll get myself three types. TA says to conquer a planet too, though, could be as easy as seeding a planet with paperclip makers. Yeah, the long. Anyway, let me read the comment first. Planet with paperclip makers to use that atmosphere's components. I'm sorry. To make said paperclips suffocating the planet. For those who don't know, um, long story short, there is a conundrum in the AI physical AI world about the paperclip maker. And that is if you program a machine to make paperclips with and that machine has no other that machine both has access to world changing mechanisms and no other features, no security, no morals, no nothing, no ethics, no nothing. It could disassemble the entire world, people and all, murdering people, devastating entire societies, and disassembling the entire earth for no other reason but to make paper clips. And the fear is that we we may create an AI that doesn't know it's a world destroyer. All it knows is I was told to make paper clips, and I'm going to need some nuclear weapons to take out these seven other nations and stop their ability to stop me because I need to make paper clips. Um, that's kind of related to alien species as well, where we may meet an alien species that may not recognize that we're even alive and go, "Oh, great, trees and plants. I love trees and plants. I bet bananas are your leaders, and us human beings walking around are nothing like in a way." Um, Autobots and Decepticons, right? Transformers. Wow, that planet's full of machines. I wonder why they're carrying around biological. Why meat is walking around on legs, right? Why aren't the cars in control? Or actually, they thought the cars and planes were in control. Mike says, okay, I'm stuck on a 3D printed clone idea. A crime boss that fakes his death by having a 3D printed clone of him killed publicly or uses a clone to stay in prison while he escapes. What's the spell? Simulacrum? What a perfect way to for a necromancer to be like, PCs kill simulacrum, PCs go, we're done. Necromancer goes, ha, you killed the wrong one. Perfect. Now as they leave and get their ill-gotten experience points, I'm ready to do whatever I'm going to do. TA says, fun thing about electrostatic charging can be used to fill scratches of a metal sheet for a mirror so smooth to smooth its reaction boundary with photons. It's basically makes a smoother mirror with electrons. Ooh. So you can 3D print a thing. You could, depending on the fidelity of the printer, you could 3D print a thing that human hands could never make as perfect. Hmm. Ha! The N King says ceramic bones sounds terrifying. Hope you don't land wrong. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no one, including the present you of your future actions to avoid causing paradoxes. That's time travel. That's a whole time travel thing. No, you guys are so far ahead of me. People will, instead of hoarding stuff, they will hoard the one thing you can't print, room or space. Yep, going minimalist with tanks of raw materials ready to go on need only. Ooh, what a that that could possibly be the new economy in the future, right? So it's not about carrying hoarding things. It's about finding the person that has the rare elements, biologicals, radiological, viral, whatever, those, the feeder material itself, and going, you want to print something out, you gotta come to me. Right? Yeah, I like that. I like that idea a lot. It becomes, it's like everybody's got access to guns, or at least the way to print them. No one's got access to the nitrogen that goes into the in that goes into the cartridgeless firearms or something or whatever, or laser weapons, or I don't know. In my own world, I've got like razor guns, which are like X-ray lasers, and microwave guns, curdlers that shoot out microwaves and high intensity radio waves and things like that. But yeah, yeah, yeah. Gaster says, I'm going to expand on Mike's idea real quick. Amongst the dense cities within the space colonies, the police that were given clone duty are often referred to as glass breakers for the baton they wield that uses a special vibrating staff that, when touched against a clone's skin, can cause their ceramic bones to break just like glass. Many people who fight for clone rights want these weapons banned and consider them not just cruel but unusual. Wow. Wow, glass breakers. Ooh. And you can make that a double entendre. Why do we come up with all our best ideas the last 15 minutes? The glass breakers could also be the staff themselves, could be put on ice. Break in case of emergency. So even the authorities are like, hey, send out the troops, and literally people are going around like pressing a button that shatters the glass, where they come out and they're all roided out, or like machines or something with their batons. Yeah, TA says, well, also, why not ceramic polymers too? Continuous chains of interlinks between the crystalline molecules, so it's as hard to scratch as the ceramic, but as flexible as rubber. Ooh, oh, you're no fun. While being as stiff as, say, a sheet of solid glass. Mm-mm-mm. Wow, 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 boy. Wow. Deadman says Soylent Green was an episode of The Twilight Zone. Yep, and became a movie too. And became a movie. Yes, Soylent Green. It's made out of people. Yeah. The N King says, if there's any kind of spirituality in this setting, could you print a soul just by itself? Ooh, ooh, ow. Whoa, whoa. You're taking a, hey, we don't accept that kind of language here. Yeah, could you? I don't know. People today would claim that if you could, they want to ban cloning because if you if you could print out a child and then raise that child, are you printing out a soul by virtue of being able to do that? Don't know. Don't know. Some on one side would say the act of printing out a living being at all is means that they have a right to live and be considered a human with the same human rights, while others would say you should ban that practice in the first place because you're playing God. And I see that coming up. I would see that coming up probably in the next 50 years at a minimum, because we already have cloning now. We and the ability to clone um, organs, new organs, and things. Can you imagine print people being able to put on ice a printed body of themselves for no other reason than to cut up and take the organs out of it as a insurance plan, and then being able to take those organs and place them inside of you? But what if you print out the brain? Do you not educate them or print them out at full size? Whatever. I can imagine a quest amongst the clone rights fighters where you must break into a police station, find and sabotage these glass breaker batons, and watch them be used to over vibrate until it physically fails apart. Yeah, physically falls apart and unarms the glass breakers themselves, allowing the people to protest with peace without the threat. That that would mean you're fighting against the authorities, though. I don't know. I don't know. I think you're getting yourself into some trouble there, Gaster. Thomas says there's a creepy pasta about a time traveler that sees an AI that was made is now traveling the galaxy, murdering new species to make room for humans. Ooh. We've got to take out the AI. Why? Because it's killing all the other alien species, and they think it's our fault. And the other crew members like, because it is. Yeah, yeah. Or rather the universe, and it's creating an environment that causes humans to de-evolve into a childlike state with no real pursuits. Um, Hyperion and the Hyperion Falls and Endymion Rising. Dan Simmons, there's a lot of that. There's a big chunk of that in those books. Excellently written books, and I think they were written back in. Let me write this up. Dan Simmons, Fall of Hyperion. Mm, yeah, 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 yeah. These books. Let's go. Let me pick one of them. Fall of Hyperion, Amazon. Let's see. They show a picture of. Let's go back. Sorry. I'm going to images instead. Here we go. Mm, 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 mm. Wow. Mike Marin says the Glass Breakers is poetically connected to the saying people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. I couldn't get I couldn't get that in my head. I was like, oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. Yeah, police abusing literal clones. It's an interesting allegory of we're not that different. Yeah, because someone hey, I'm not a clone. I don't have anything to do with them. And they're literally using a weapon that tingles me, gets hey, I've got a back spasm. Can you use that baton on my back? Ah, that feels good, and literally hurts other people. That's a great allegory there. Yeah, M squared. I love it. Yeah, Mike Marin says I don't know. There's some sort of linguistic connection there. That is interesting. That is very interesting. The clones running around begging people to help them, and they're just like, I don't have anything to do with you. Thomas Anderson makes a point. Humans too, the same way the womb printed humans. That's all us come from, right? Yeah. Yeah. Gaster Two Soul says, I just realized we could all collectively make a group chat and create an entire sci-fi TTRPG with a grim dark edge. We get a little too grim dark, I think. But I think part of that too is that we know where people are going to go with this, right? Like there's no question. There's literally zero question with what 8 to 9 billion people and counting that one person is going to come up with this with it, the idea of abusing this kind of technology. Hell yeah. I'm gonna have to get out of here pretty soon. But anyway, Mike says a plot point: to activate a clone, you have to activate its immune system. This normally requires a virus or bacteria. Imagine theft at a lab and the players think it's a bioweapon. Nope, it's an infection to activate an army of clones. Dun, 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 dun. Dramatic music. That's the closest dramatic music I could think of. TA says, is Hyperion a series that has the Striker aliens? It's the one that has the single. Let's see if I can get an image of this. Um, it has the Shrike, and let's see. I'll bring up a it. The Shrike is a creature with that's made of blades, and it's called the Shrike. So I don't know if that's what you're talking about, but yeah, and it has a tree. Let's see if someone here has the tree. Um, it shows the tree. No, no one's showing the tree, but there's a nightmare image of people impaled on the Shrike's tree, and each of those people are wailing in pain for all eternity. And this is in a sci-fi setting. Nah, I can't. I don't see it. I don't see it. Yeah, this is Quentin. This image over on the left, YouTube. Hyperion Cantos, the most terrifying thing. Yeah, yeah. The Hyperion Cantos is both the Hyperion books together, and Endymion is the two book follow up to that. And it's this is a great series. No one has really been able to figure out how to visually do this on the cheap, but it's pretty good. All right, let's get back to you guys and then get out of here. Mm-mm. That was what I was thinking of. Shrike, patterned after a type of bird on Earth that is absolutely brutal in life cycle to other species. Yep, yep. That's what I was thinking of. The Shrike pattern. Yep. Quentin's ideas where I had heard of Hyperion. Yeah, yeah. I listened to Quinn's ideas as well. Yeah, yeah. I'm a long form listener and such like Isaac Arthur, Quinn's ideas, things like that. Yeah. Gas was like, hell yeah. I love writing quests that's about fighting against the power of the government. Yeah, we don't like governments, but yeah. Mm-mm-mm. I love all these ideas. Okay, so we're coming to the end. So, guys, thank you so much for being part of the show. Like I said, Seat of the Pan Studio. I like to come up with an idea and not have a plan for it so that we can be as open and creative as possible. But you guys make me look good, which I really appreciate. So, in return, I thank you. That's why I like to spotlight you guys. The more and more people that take part in the show, you might start to hear me say, please put like in all caps DBJ or question or something in front of it if we get enough people. But listen, when I go live at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, that is it's a nebulous time. We're not going to get too many people unless they're from overseas that are going to be part of the show. So there is an end cap. There's a top level to this. So guys, thank you so much for being part of the show and for fighting against the government and talk about 3D printing and all that good stuff in logical, normal, reasonable, peaceful ways when I say these things. Guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Well, some I like what TA has to say. The best way to end a government is to create a system so much better that people just stop using and acting with said government. Thus, it just disappears due to lack of feeding. Lack of feeding, yeah. Mm-mm-mm. Oh, I love it. Although anarchy isn't much better. Yeah, always happy to talk about doombots and ceramic bones. I named this sci-fi world we have Hyperion, Shadow of the Future. It sure is. Guys, have a great one. I will see thee later. Peace.